Hey, YouTube, it's Eric. I I live over a bar, and there's people in the bar right now. So if you hear music in the background noise, that's what that is. I live over top of a bar. It's cheap rent, but it is what it is. But I got a new I bought a new fit book that came in today in the mail. It's a Peter J. Doiswick book, and I found Peter J. Doiswick's book. I made a video recommending it down in my feed. He wrote a book called Catholic Victory in 1960. It was a short book, but it was great, short and to the point. But like I found the book just out of the blue in a declassified CIA file. It was a letter from this Laura Hazelwood to Alan Dulles, and in the letter, I started like I'll show you. I have the PDF file open. It's on my archive.org page. I uploaded the book, but in the letter, like it's Laura Hazelwood saying to Alan Dulles, like, "Hey, like, what should we do about this book?" And I think like she sent that because like she knew that like the book was um, very explosive. Like if it reached, it didn't reach mass consciousness, but but if the information that was in Peter Doiswick's book, got out there to the masses, then that would be a problem for the CIA. This is the book here. It's called Ecumenicalism and Romanism. This is the book he wrote after Catholic Victory in 1960. This was written in 1961. And I'm just excited. I got this. I was reading this at work today. I was excited I got this because his books are really hard to find. Like I know, like I was looking in terms of some of his books are in American libraries, but in Canada, there's only one library in Canada that has Doiswick's books, and that's the University of Alberta. And I tried to put in an interlibrary loan request to Alberta, and it got denied. And I haven't had that before. So like his books are hard to get. So and this one it's pretty short. It's fairly short, like his book Catholic Victory in 1960, but it's very to the point. Tons of quotations from like ancient authors. This is the and like the scan I did today is like a really good scan. One of the better scans that I've done scanning in a book. This is the cover page here: Ecumenicalism and Romanism, their origin and development. And then you see these Peter Doiswick. He did like 4 volumes. Like this is like a history of dogma, volume 1. He did like 4 volumes of these. And like these were the books I was trying to get. These are the other books I was trying to get from Interlibrary Loan, his volume 2, 3, and 4 of his Dogma series. But like the request was turned down, unfortunately. So this is a good book here. I read through most of it at work today, but it was really good, enlightening. It's an enlightening read, especially on early church history from like really from like the time of Christ, like the year of 0 all the way up to current time. Like this book was written in 1961, and he covers briefly the ecumenical council that was called by John the 23rd in the last chapter. But it's a really good book. I recommend you guys check it out. If you haven't read this book yet, if you're new to my channel, I recommend you check this. This is one I recommended this down in my feed. This is Catholic Victory in 1960, and this is the book I found, like a full book in a CIA file. And you see the proof of release, CIA 2002, August 21st. But this was a fairly good scan too. I know there's a few pages at the bottom where like the font gets a little squinty on a couple pages, but overall this is a really good scan. This is from like a CIA file. This is what got me interested in Doiswick. And then I found out that Peter Doiswick was very close with not Edmund Paris, Leo H. Lehman, who is another really good author that I've read. And Doiswick and Lehman both were lead editors at the Converted Catholic magazine. And on my library page, which you can get all these books at, I linked that in the description. I put up Converted. I found a 1949 magazine of the Converted Catholic magazine, one of the months, and it's an interesting read. We see Doiswick and Leo Lehman's name on there. I recommend you check out this book here, though. It's very enlightening. Ecumenicalism and Romanism. Here's the Vatican, and this is Leo H. Lehman, who Doiswick was close with. This is a good pamphlet that I put on the library. Leo H. Lehman, Vatican Policy in the Second World War. This is really short, but it's very to the point, like Doiswick's work. And this is another great short work here by Leo Lehman. Behind the Dictators: The Relationship of Nazi Fascism to Roman Catholicism. It's a really good book there. I recommend you check that out. I've read both of these works before I found out Peter Doiswick. I didn't know that like they were close together, so that was interesting. This is a really good book here. If you guys watch the documentary, the very revealing documentary, I put up on my channel on Jasenovac, which is the main concentration camp inside Croatia. There were many concentration camps, but that was like the biggest concentration camp inside Croatia during the Ustashi Holocaust massacres that were done out by the there was literally a completely Roman Catholic fascist regime that was put in place, the Ustashi, led by Ante Pavelic, a devout Roman Catholic who Pavelic was educated by the Jesuits. That's even on his Wikipedia page. But this book was referenced a lot in that documentary. It's called God and the Fascists, and I bought this off of Google Books. It costs like $10, like a pretty good deal. Like a pack of cigarettes costs like $14, so $10 versus you get a great. This is I would say this book is honestly classic. You know, you can get a classic book for $10. It's just a good deal, I think. This is like 265 pages. There's literally over probably 400 more than 400, probably 500 citations in this book, and this is just solid information. This Karl-Heinz Deichner. This is the only book I've seen of his. He was a prominent German writer. This is the only. This is a 2013 reprint edition that was done by Prometheus Books, I think. Yeah, Prometheus Books. Here's your God and the Fascists: The Vatican Alliance with Mussolini, Franco, Hitler, and Pavelic. This book will really like wake you up if you haven't read into Vatican intrigue in World War II. This is a fantastic book. It was fantastic. I would put the classic label on this. This was very, very good. And this book I also bought on an ebook from Google Books. That I've heard of this book. For a good radio broadcast I put on my channel was Mae Brussels part 2 broadcast she did on the Knights of Malta, but she references this book in that broadcast. It's called Real Lace, America's Irish Rich, and this book is like a detailed story on like the Irish Catholic aristocratic class in America, just tracing their activities since they moved here. Great information on like super wealthy papal knight Catholics like Thomas Fortune Ryan, Thomas E. Murray. Thomas E. Murray actually was made a Knight of Malta right after he engineered the mortar shell that was used in World War I. That would, the mortar shell would then be used to slaughter millions in Europe, all over the world. But Thomas E. Murray was on the board of the Edison Company, which, Papal Knight Nicholas Frederick Brady was also on. There's a whole chapter in this book on the Duchess Brady, which is very interesting. I think this was this was even a New York Times bestseller when it came out. But there's a lot of interesting information like on the Buckley family, information on them in here, like Cardinal Spellman, Nicholas Frederick Brady, the Murray family, the Thomas Fortune Ryan. There's lots of good information in this book. Yeah, and I heard about this book from Mae Brussels, but I bought the ebook edition. It took me for these two books here. Like when you buy a book off Google, if you want to upload it, you have to take off the DRM file. I'm just not super computer savvy, so it took me a while to take off like the security code, but I was able to do it. But these are very good books. And in terms of church history, I read out the book The Vatican Billions on my channel, which complements this book here very well, Ecumenicalism and Romanism. This is a very good book on early Roman church history. But The Vatican Billions by Avram Manhattan also is a very good book on early church history. And I read this on my channel in full. So I don't. Some of you may have heard me read this whole book, chapter 1 to 36. But this PDF came out really good too. But I put out this PDF is now available on my library page. I think this is the only copy of the full book on the internet. I think before the PDF would go up to chapter 13, but you can read this whole book now. And chapter 1 to 16 is early church history, very good early church history, and it covers relevant Vatican financial intrigues up to 1983. It's a good book. And also just some books I got recently from the library. I recently started reading the author Paul Blanchard. Paul Blanchard was like he wrote for The Nation magazine. He was also in Mayor LaGuardia's administration. So I think he was a State Department official. So he was involved in the government early, then became a journalist. But like he was a vocal anti-Catholic writer, just a thinker in general. I think he identified himself as a secular humanist. But he wrote this book here in 1962 called Freedom and Catholic Power in Spain and Portugal. And it was really good. You know, to get great information on, if you're not aware, Spain and Portugal had two devout, like as devout as you can get, two devout Catholics as reigning dictators for each over 35 years, that being Francisco Franco and Antonio Oliveira Salazar. This is very interesting information. Actually, I've scanned in. I found out like my local library here at Brock that they actually had they had a couple of Paul Blanchard's books. I got this one here, American Freedom and Catholic Power in Spain and Portugal, on interlibrary loan. But I got this one at my local library, and this is really good here, called American Freedom and Catholic Power by Paul Blanchard. This is the second edition, and it was written in 1958, and it was revised and enlarged. This one's really good. I also got this from my local library, which I scanned in from Paul Blanchard. And actually, interesting with Paul Blanchard, I recommended the book "The American Pope" by John Cooney. It was a biographical on Cardinal Francis Spellman. And in that book, there's a quote where Spellman was talking about Paul Blanchard, and Spellman was quoted saying that like, that man needs to be stopped. So like, and Paul Blanchard did, you know, he had a bigger platform than a lot of anti-Catholic writers. You know, he wrote for like a national, you know, The Nation magazine, which is one of the oldest. The Nation's one of the oldest editorials in the United States. So, but Blanchard, you know, he was reaching a lot of people, you know, with his writings. So like the Catholic Church, you know, did fear him. And like there's lots of, I've read a slander piece online that the Jesuit priest Courtney Murray did on Blanchard. But this book is good here too, that also that I got from the library here at Brock. It's called Irish and Catholic Power by Paul Blanchard, an American interpretation. This one in particularly complements this book really well. Freedom and Catholic Power in Spain and Portugal. But all three of these books are really good here by Paul Blanchard, and I got those scanned in. But I think all this reading here, I think would, if you guys haven't read these, I think it's all, you know, very good historical readings. But just it allows like what's going on today to make so much more sense when you see what's going on today. You see that it's, you know, Roman Catholic control. And when you look all over the world, you see that the majority of like the governments in the world, especially the Western governments, have predominantly Roman Catholic administration, and nothing has changed. If you look at NATO, if you look at through the past directors at NATO, you'll see Roman Catholic after Roman Catholic. There's been like 3 or 4 Jesuit trained supreme commanders of NATO. It's just like this power apparatus is still in place today, and these are good history books, good background information to get an understanding of what's going on in the world. But I think that's all for this one, YouTube. Peace and love, and Nam Nas. I'll catch you guys on the next one.